Okay, welcome to today's weekly town hall meeting, September 6th, 2022. Today's agenda: marketing, projects and development updates, documentation updates, marketing updates, collaboration updates, and Q&A. Robinson, please start us off with project and development updates.
Thank you. So as usual, let's start with our process improvements list. So where we've been making leaps and bounds of progress on the vulnerability management. We have zero vulnerabilities in Next, Peerplays JS, and I think in Dex UI as well. I have not. We have just made a release for that. So we're making good progress on this front, and we're also incorporating various steps or stages into the CI process to make sure that we don't find ourselves in this same situation again. And also the GitLab cleanup is in progress, but it needs a lot more attention. That's on the process improvements. Now we've been talking about these new engineering metrics based on the Dora project, and which uses fewer items, fewer benchmarks. So we have configured our tool, which is a haystack, and it has some details for us. And begin with, these metrics, this primarily focuses on speed, frequency, bandwidth, and finally quality. So I have some slides which details our current status. Now the first item is speed. I'm a little skeptical about the word speed because it looks like speed is, from a purely technical perspective, speed is something that doesn't have direction. So we may have to consider using a better term, velocity, so that our direction, that is what we work on, is delivering meaningful outcomes or products. So probably velocity is a better term here. Anyway, so current speed, that is to complete a certain activity or a feature or a bug fix, this is averages around 7.19 days. Now keep in mind that this is not across all the products that we're working on, because this status is from the last 2 weeks, and this primarily focuses on the next project, Dex UI, and a little bit on the Peerplays code base, that is a blockchain code base. And the industry standard, or the best in the industry as per Haystack, is around 4 days. So we do have to make some improvements here, but we've been making good progress over the past few months. Now, frequency. Now, this is an important and interesting metric. So by frequency, what we mean is the deployments that we make to production, or essentially what end users get. Now, in our scenario, this metric is right now purely from one release that we made in Next. There are no other releases or deployments. And in our scenario, we have configured it in such a way that this tracks both the deployments to production and QA. So this is obviously from the QA deployment. We have been improving this. So we have been making improvements to the deployment frequency, but this needs to be improved across the board for all the projects. This seems to be one of the most important metrics that we can focus on to improve how fast we ship our software. So in the upcoming weeks and months, we would try to, once we have a consensus on this particular metric, we would try to improve this. Bandwidth. So this essentially talks about the number of MRs or the PRs that is merged in a given time frame. Again, this is calculated across only few projects. Some of the projects like NFT lottery and others doesn't have any stats available. This also is showing an upward trend for the first few months. Last month, toward the end of last month, we've been making some good progress, and it's an item that we'll be keeping an eye on. Now, quality is in the Dora metrics. Quality is measured against the number of failures that happens against a production. Now, in our scenario, this is not working fairly well yet. But once we have Next in production, probably we'll see some meaningful traction from this. So, except for the quality item, all the other three items, speed, frequency, and bandwidth, we are able to measure that, and there needs to be a lot of improvements that we should be making. We should be making more deployments. We should be focusing on how fast or how soon we are able to complete our review process, etc. So the engineering team will be working on those items. Now we talked about the engineering metrics. In addition to this, we also have the project management or project metrics. So this is our issues and features created per month over the last 3 months. So this report is from GitLab, and the previous month we have created 238 GitLab issues. Obviously, this is across features and bugs and even documentation related tickets. And we've closed 146 items last month. As we can see, there is a progress compared to the previous month. And September is already looking very promising as we've been making a lot of progress across multiple projects. So this is a merge request per month. July seems to be having a better stats. Last month we had 66 of them, and this month we already seems to have around 20 of them, thanks to the next team and the hard work on the development team. This is, as I said, these MRs and frequency of deployments. We'll be focusing on those to make sure that we deliver products faster. Now I'll rush through the rest of the data as well. On the blockchain side, we have been integrating Bitcoin library for the Suns functionality. So our POC is working, and now we've started working on replacing all other RPC calls using the Bitcoin library. Implementation on the Suns is also progressing. And we also have new team members, and we've started working on additional automated test cases. We're also continuously looking at how the Hive update is coming along. So far, there are no issues, and looks like the Hive mainnet is about to get updated. The development seems to have frozen for the latest release, and so far, this is looking good. These are our charts. Dex release, the Dex UI. Our sole focus, we won't be making any more feature releases or improvements on this product. The sole focus is on addressing the vulnerabilities, and we are also trying to upgrade the Peerplays JS flip. So we've just made a release, and I think by next week we'll complete the QA and have a release, which will mostly be the final release for Dex UI, unless there are any vulnerabilities that pops up. This is the charts. This is not very meaningful because we have moved all our resources into the next project. On the next project, as I was talking about in the metrics, we've been making a lot of progress here. And our current release 0.011, it's available in this particular URL. This is a CI auto deployed from the CI. This has a few bugs, but if anybody is interested in looking at the current progress, please visit this URL. Here, what's happening is this is our Sonar Cloud evaluation of the product. Looks like we've managed to address some of these items, but our major area, that is the test coverage, we are still at zero and trying to make a plan on how to go up with this. But our focus will be primarily on getting a product out of the door as opposed to going after these metrics. These are our burn down and burn up charts, which are self-explanatory. Moving on to the trade hand project. So there are a few tickets or few features implemented for user overview component, helper functions for retrieving the accounts, and finally enumeration of NFTs held by an account. Those are a few things that happened over the last week, and CI deployment can be found at tradehands.peerplays.download. These are charts for the previous week for the trade hands. Together, this is still in a discovery phase, syndicated earlier. This is product to improve our user onboarding. On the NFT lottery, finally, we have identified and fixed most of the non issues, and we're now working on a demo so that the demo can be given to the end users and collaborators and move on. So NFT project, mostly this NFT lottery project will mostly wind up this week, and the resources will be, there's only one developer on this project. He will be moved to the next project, hopefully by end of this week. Next item is the Peerplays Python library. So we've been having challenges with the graphene. So the graphene libs in there's an underlying library which is used by the Peerplays Python library, and this is now having a mismatch between some of the variables which we currently have. It's not been available in the graphene lib. This could be probably because we have these new functionalities like suns, and this could be a tricky one as we will mostly end up having to fork graphene lib. So we until now we've been using the same graphene lib which has been used by BitShares. But these new changes on our side, which may mean that we'll have to fork and maintain one of these, or like one more Python library. So we're working on this and trying to make sure that these changes to graphene lib is working well. It's integrated properly with the Python library. We do have other challenges. We are seeing errors like errors related to authentication and things like that. Now that this issue with the variable is identified and addressed, this week we'll spend some time on other challenges as well. Finally, the Bookie Pro project, we are still working on the CI. Once the DevOps is ready the DevOps has some free time, we'll be looking into integrating on the CI, and that will be all with Bookie Pro. So that's all from the development team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robinson. Documentation updates, Sean, please.
Hello, thank you. So, over the past few weeks, we've had a couple of Kaizen events for the PBSA, and we have discovered a lot of organizational improvements, process improvements for our documentation. So, we're working through that and coming up with various ways to look at how to do documentation better. So, that is something that is ongoing, and we are issuing a lot of tasks for folks to do. Otherwise, we have some upcoming documents. We have a README for the Trainheads Explorer, also a Grafana setup and usage document coming soon. And we have a delayed node document that is already complete, but we are waiting to publish that pending a review of the feature. So this is my update for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Sala, marketing updates and performance updates, please.
Thank you, Kelly. In terms of marketing update for the last week, we are focusing on getting performance metric for all our activities as a marketing team and as Peerplays. Also, there is review of some internal communication guidelines, including the branding guidelines as well. And the Peerplays website is still ongoing redesign and full audit to get it to the next level, as well as we are getting our social media content strategy and calendar for a new plan in order to keep up with the performance KPIs that we set. So that's for the marketing updates. In terms of performance updates, we've done a snapshot of the website traffic and KPIs in the website based on quarters and also months and weeks. And the main highlight that we can see that the bounce rate is getting better and the time spent by the user on the website is going up, which means there is like a better user experience and most of the users spend more time on the website. In terms of social media for the last week, we start seeing a better audience growth and also engagement for some social media. As I mentioned in the marketing update, we're working on new social media plan for the content and the KPIs, and we will start seeing some improvement for the coming weeks. In terms of the email performance, last week we've sent email updates for the Townhall. It has 20% open rate and also around 5% click rate. So we are keeping up every week in order to keep the community and our user database updated on our Townhall updates. So that's for the marketing update for the last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. Jonathan, collaboration updates, please.
Thank you very much. So for the collaboration updates for this past week, we had a call with Gaming Benefits Corporation, that is in regards to the regulated charitable gaming sector across the United States. It was an excellent call. We basically spent more time getting to know everybody's roles, re-examining essentially where we see Gaming Benefits Corporation utilizing Peerplays. So it was very excellent. We're still full steam ahead, and so it's still undergoing. We should see more updates on that in the coming week as usual. Community. So in community, Avalon Meta Labs. So I feels like Groundhog Day reporting on this, unfortunately, but we had technical issues once again, and we're still working on it. And we collaborated with their team. Unfortunately, they're very slow to get back to us in regards to the issues. Good news, from what I understand, is that today should be the day that we should have that issue resolved, and we can start to see us using Scene's community platform for Peerplays. This was in regards to the SSO, which has undergone extensive development on our side, at least during this period of time, with more features and more capabilities. So that's some good news on that front. So expect to see more on that in the coming week. Infrastructure. So I had an interesting call with a company called Upheaval. They are the company which is behind the development of the Ironweave blockchain. You probably never heard of them because they aren't necessarily out there in typical fashion with most public blockchains because they're focused in the private blockchain sector. They've got some interesting tech that they've developed over the course of the last several years in their blockchain infrastructure and their design. Now that they have only focused in being a private blockchain, they haven't done anything in regards to consensus in a decentralized fashion. So they can do all kinds of, proof of authority and all this kind of stuff, which is really we all know how easy that is when you take the decentralized part out. But they are now at a crossroads where they realize that they need to have decentralization as part of their makeup if they're going to have any future, which is something which I have been very, very strong advocate for the past few years, that the entire industry is going to move towards decentralization. That's just where the benefits are, and we're going to see less and less desire for centralized type blockchain. So it was an interesting call and got to know them. They've basically sent over, because it's a private company and whatnot, they have all kinds of NDAs and crazy stuff like that, unfortunately. But we did go through that, and we're going to continue discussions with them. So I will share what I can, of course, because of NDAs. There's not much. There may be some things I can't talk about, but I'll do what I can to be able to get more info to you guys on what's happening there. Regulations. Government Blockchain Association is a association that is based out of the United States, which PBSA has been a member of for a couple of years now. They have recently changed direction in regards to their CTO, Chief Technology Officer. It's the makeup of how they're designing standards around blockchain when it comes to, they have a blockchain maturity model. They are putting together standards for blockchains in order for them to be regulatory, I wouldn't say compliant, but they'd be regulatory approved based on certain elements that are incorporated into them. So their blockchain maturity model is something that I actually had some direct input in their early days when they were putting that together. I haven't had much in the last while, though. Regardless, because of our background and because of our good relationship with them, they are now forming a technical committee instead of having a CTO. And so with that, there is now talk about us potentially joining this tech committee, which would then be able to have a say in the standards which go into things like the blockchain maturity model, which essentially would be recommended for companies and organizations and governments, obviously being the Government Blockchain Association, to incorporate into how they use blockchain. So it's an exciting opportunity, and we're continuing to explore that, and hopefully it's going to turn into something where we can have some input that puts Peerplays in an excellent position, further excellent position. So that's the GBA. Infrastructure. ThreeSpeak Media LLC. So as you guys know, there's a project out there called ThreeSpeak. We've done some work with them in the past. We've continued to be talking to them in regards to cross-chain interfacing. We did some of the Hive Suns work for them. We also did some other work in regards to the airdrop that they did earlier this year. And now they're interested in wanting to be able to have the cross-chain capabilities of Peerplays. So because we are the most advanced and the most mature in this work when it comes to graphene chains, they are now seeking to have cross-chain capabilities interfacing with ThreeSpeak as it is. So the technicals on this are still not ready for release, but I can say that this will likely involve basically Peerplays having some kind of an interface to something along the lines of Hive Engine. It would be an interesting application which will extend the capabilities of Peerplays in an interesting way for a lot of Hive projects to be able to enable those and Peerplays to have further cross-chain communication capabilities, which in turn means that these tokens could do things with the other applications, such as the NFT Lotto or 6Pro or any other capabilities such as the DEX and Peerplays. They can be able to utilize those functions in Peerplays as well. So all in all, good for volume. Esports, payment and events management. I've talked about this over the last weeks. This has evolved in a very good way. They are going to be establishing a nonprofit organization. I believe I mentioned that last week. This is something where we will likely be aligning with them in a similar fashion to how we aligned with Gaming Benefits Corporation. So the Gaming Benefits Corporation essentially is doing everything in regards to regulated gaming, which is not our role, but utilizing the tools that Peerplays has to offer in into the regulated gaming space. Meanwhile, for esports, back in 2019, we pioneered a lot of effort and some development into an application which we dubbed Streamer's Edge back then. It in its iteration, it didn't fit the market as it was intended to, which is why we need someone like this collaborator who will be able to better guide what kind of market fit is needed in order to be able to align with esports events and payments. And they're actually working with schools, universities across the state, and they're looking to collaborate with other nonprofits that are in the esports realm that are in other states across the US. And this, I think, could probably spread to Canada too. And why not around the world? Because we are decentralized. So so this will be that type of a collaboration. So they will have some influence in regards to possibly some features that specifically would make sense for esports. And of course, some of the ones we already have in Peerplays are a great fit for that. Specifically, the original tournament bracket certainly could be used in this instance, as well as our tokenizing capabilities, whether it be coins or NFTs. We have some extensive features that esports could certainly utilize, and they're excited to work with us on this. So they are going to continue to develop in that vein so that we gain exposure to that vertical as well, utilizing Peerplays tools. Those are the collaboration updates. Then there are dedicated team updates. I'm sure while I was talking about all that, you probably noticed under DevOps, there's lightning rods firing off of Riley. So Riley, for a number of months now, Riley has been evolving as a DevOps. He started off as a junior DevOps late last year, and since then he has completed 3 certification courses in the DevOps realm. The latest one he finished just last week, which is DevOps Leader. So it's a DOL certification. So I wanted to give a congratulations out to Riley for completing DevOps Leader. With that, of course, he is eager to apply that to all the activity that's going around Peerplays. And it is certainly showing in terms of improved CI/CDs that are happening, all the optimization that Bobinson talked about. Riley's going to have a hand in regards to making sure that that all works in an autonomous way. So congratulations to Riley on that. And then on the flip side, in our JavaScript development team, we no longer have Alexis working with us in Peerplays. Unfortunately, due to life circumstances for him, he's not going to be able to continue. So we bid him adieu and wish him the best in whatever future endeavors he picks up. So that is the updates and the collaborations for this past week with Peerplays.
Thank you very much. All right, on to questions, comments, thoughts, Q&A. I had none that came in from the community. Is there any here? All right, well, that ends today's town hall meeting on September 6th, 2022. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great Tuesday.